Welcome to episode 12 of After School with Mr. Van Huss. Today I get to sit down with Bill Carbone, who's the executive director of teachrock.org. Now, this is a resource that I've used as a teacher in my classroom for the last few years. And if you want to bring music and music history into your classroom, Teach Rock is what you want to be looking at as a teacher. Their mission is stated on their website, says that they would like to improve students' lives by bringing the sound, stories, and science of music to all classrooms. Now, this was launched by Stevie Van Zandt, who you would know as a member of Bruce Springsteen's E Street Band. And his founders board includes Bono, Jackson Browne, Martin Scorsese, and Bruce Springsteen. Their artist council also includes people like Erykah Badu, Common, Sheryl Crow, Peter Gabriel, Norah Jones, Marty Stewart. The list goes on and on. This is a phenomenal resource for teachers, and the best part, it's free for teachers. Now, a couple of years ago at the end of the year, my students and I entered a contest on Teach Rock to where we got to be a part of Stevie Van Zandt's virtual tour. I still have a couple of pictures that Bill sent me, if my phone will turn the right way, that he sent me after the event where my classes and I were talking to Stevie Van Zandt. Probably one of the absolute best days of my teaching career. And it's my pleasure to get to sit down with Bill today. Here he is. Welcome to After School with Mr. Van Huss. So glad to have you here.
Thank you,
so
Mr.
much.
Van Huss. It's my pleasure to be here.
Well, I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to me. I know Teach Rock is something that I have used in my classroom for the last couple of years and love it. And my students love it. And I knew, somebody from your organization, hopefully you were the one that I wanted to get to come on here and talk. So for people that may not know who you are and may not know what Teach Rock is, I'm going to let you just introduce yourself and kind of tell them a little bit about yourself and the organization.
Okay. Well, so Bill Carbone, I'm the executive director of Teach Rock, which means that I'm the boss, which is something that I grew into, and I still feel weird saying it when some of my colleagues call me their boss. I'm always like, wait, not bossing anybody around here. I prefer to be a leader, I guess. And I've been here for 8 years, and I did not start as the boss. I started as a curriculum writer, meaning that if you've done a bunch of Teach Rock lessons, some of them I probably wrote a lot of the content for. And it's something I came to with a little bit of a winding career, basically following my interests to different places. But to back up, what is teachrock.org? It was started by Stevie Van Zandt, who you may recognize as the guitar player in Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band, or as Silvio from The Sopranos, depending on what your life is like. One of those may come to you first. For me, I knew him as Silvio before I realized that he was in the E Street Band, but I guess maybe I shouldn't say that too much. And the idea was just, to put it simply, information is cool, knowledge is cool. When you like, to any of you guys out there, when you like music, you like to learn about the musicians you like, right? You look them up on Wikipedia, you want to follow their Instagram and learn more about them. When you are interested, say you're getting your driver's license and you're trying to save up for a car, you might like spend all this time like reading about cars or watching YouTube videos about um, how to know which kind of car you want to get with your like $5,000 that you worked for a year to save up or something. Information is cool. It's fun to learn. Sometimes with school, we like block it up somehow and make it so that it doesn't feel fun anymore. And I think we've all had that experience too. And the idea behind Teach Rock is how can we kind of clear that log jam and get to the place where information is fun again, right? And so um, music and culture is a great place to start the pursuit of information, right? Because you start with something that's exciting, and a lot of times it just leads like naturally into something else. So that's really the main idea behind it. And then we've tried to apply it to as many ways as we can, from social studies and history all the way to math and algebra. So like, how does the way a guitar string resonates have to do with the Pythagorean theorem, So all the time, I think if I had had real world applications to a lot of the things I did in school, I would remember more of them because they would be meaningful to me. as opposed to something I memorized because I had to and then I forgot it right after. So our goal is always to make those connections, make learning fun and something worth engaging in that won't, you'll forget. Once you get started, you forget you're even at school anymore. You're just kind of enjoying it.
I know I've used a lot of the resources on Teach Rock, both in my U.S. history class and I also teach AP Human Geography class. And we do a lot with like the study of pop culture and like the diffusion of pop culture. And I know your website has had so many resources for things like that, and just seeing how music interacted with the culture of our country. It's always been something that I've had an interest in. Now, how did you originally like get hooked up with Stevie Van Zandt?
So, look, my personal story is I was a music person from fourth grade on. So by the time I was in sixth grade, I was like, I'm going to be a professional drummer, and that was all I wanted, you know. And so I was going to be a famous drummer in a famous rock band. And I did go to college. I went to music school, New England Conservatory of Music. And right out of school, I was in a band that was doing well, and I was in a van touring the whole country. And this was the late 90s and into the early 2000s, and just kind of traveled the country playing music. That got old kind of fast, or in between, I just found that I wanted to do stuff. So I started teaching music a little too. And eventually I decided to go to graduate school for ethnomusicology, which is it's the research of music and culture. It's like anthropology, but music focused. And I went to Wesleyan University in Connecticut, and it really helped expand my mind to like music beyond just me playing it, you know? I still, to this day, still play tons of music. I still play in a couple bands. Like almost every weekend, I'm out playing music all over the Northeast. And but from doing an ethnomusicology degree, then I ended up teaching at a couple colleges where I live, and I was doing all this stuff, and like I was all spread out, like playing gigs and teaching classes and teaching music lessons, and I really wanted something that I could just kind of like consolidate. And I saw an application to write curriculum using the history of American popular music, and I thought, that is the job I never knew existed that is supposed to be my job. And so I applied for it and I got it. And so when I started, I didn't even know that it was Stevie's organization. They didn't put that in the application. And then I figured it out in the process. But I started in early 2016. And my first task was all the PBS soundbreaking stuff and the official Beatles project that we got. And so that was like my trial, and I did it. It was perfect for me. And when I started, it was only two people working at the organization, me and the executive director, and we just hired our 12th person. So it's been really exciting to be here for the whole development.
That's very cool. Very, very cool. So, growing up, like, who are your heroes in music? What kind of made you a music guy? Like, who'd you grow up listening to?
Well, I'm the MTV generation. So from my earliest kind of memories, like my mom would have MTV on, like the same way people just leave the news on all day now or something. She just left MTV on. So I just remember sitting on the edge of her bed and watching these music videos, and it was the 80s. So it was either like weird synth pop music or crazy kind of like hair metal. And I just remember the drum sets that the drummers had, like these massive like cities of a drum set, you know, and just thinking, I just want to sit in that and like hit all of that stuff. So that's really the beginning. So, but also kind of cool because that was an era where things crossed over. So I remember like it was cassettes, right? So some of the first cassettes I ever bought was the band Poison, which was a glam rock band, but also Run DMC. So like it was all happening at once, and so I wasn't really like separating those things. I just liked them. They were like hip, cool things that were happening, and I was young and just consuming them, you know. And then as time went on, I maybe developed more, I guess, taste. But I love everything, and I love rock, and I still love. I mean, I grew up on progressive rock for sure, Rush and stuff like that as a drummer. but also really love jazz. And I still seek out new music all the time. Like I'm trying never to be that person who says there's nothing good anymore because there always is. It's just you not finding it because you're not a kid anymore, invested in the search like you were when you were a kid.
I also grew up on a lot of MTV, and I talk to my students a lot, and try to explain what it was like when you had, that coming across cable television and like everybody watched it. And, there were so many trends that were coming from music videos and, the way you dressed, the way you acted. And it's hard to explain to the generation that didn't really grow up with that what it was like and how influential it really was. But I try my best, and it was a lot of fun. It was a fun time to grow up.
Yeah, monoculture, right? Like if something
Exactly.
made it through and became popular, whether or not you liked it, you knew it because it was on.
Mhm.
And there wasn't another channel. Like you couldn't change,
Yeah,
it's either that or you're watching something else. So,
yeah,
how many times did I see the Madonna Like a Prayer video, even though I didn't really like the song? Like probably 40.
yeah. I remember one of my earliest memories. I remember my parents. They used to have like a Friday night like voting show or something where they'd play a couple of videos and you would like call a 900 number and pay like $1.50 or something and vote for whichever one was your favorite. And my parents let me call in and vote for "We're Not Gonna Take It" by Twisted Sister one time when I was just a little kid, and I felt
Yeah.
so cool. So it just I was seeing stuff there I definitely wasn't, seeing in the town I was growing up in, and it really opened a lot of doors and
Yeah.
made me a fan of a lot of different types of music.
Yeah. Yeah. You just kind of got exposed to, there was gatekeepers then, which in a way there isn't as much now. But at the same time, you got exposed to things that you wouldn't have now because now you just kind of pick what you like and then you get fed more and more that's like related algorithmically to it. And unless there's somebody in your life that's like making you listen to their stuff. Can you hear the guitar in the background? We have basically had a hurricane here today, like a really
Oh my
weird
goodness.
December, like we've got 2+ inches of rain and high winds, so the kids don't have school. So my daughter's playing Nirvana right out there
I
right now.
cannot hear, so it's good.
Oh, okay.
We had tornadoes here last week, and we were actually out of school last Monday and Tuesday because a tornado went through our town here. So
Wow.
it's been a weird December all the way across America, I guess.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
what was high school like for you?
It
I know I'm
That's a
going
big
way back.
question. Well, I'm trying to be diplomatic. Like it was fine. Um, I loved music. I just knew I had this like vision for exactly what I wanted to do. I mean, I was always a decent student. Um, I think I was probably could have been a better student if I really, really applied myself, but I really just wanted to do music. I did every music thing the school offered. I did every extracurricular music thing I could get myself into. I had a band. I started booking my own band when I was a sophomore in high school. That was the phone book era. I just like went through the phone book and started calling local music venues and they would get our cassette and sometimes they would book us and we would show up. We were all like 16 with long hair. They were like, wait, you guys aren't even old enough to be here, but we hired you for tonight, so we have to have you. And I will say that I grew up in like not like a super small town, but not a very big town either. That was all about sports. And I wasn't all about sports. I hate sports. And, like I can play some, but I just like it just wasn't the thing for me. And music was, right? Like music gave me I played sports and I wasn't the best guy on the team ever. And I didn't get positive feedback. Played music, I got a lot of positive feedback, right? Like it was like this thing I was good at. And I really understand why I gravitated toward it. And it makes me understand why music is so important in schools because it gives people like me a chance to be good at something, you know, that's just one of the things it does. But like that was so important. It was like my sanctuary, because I wasn't going to be a starting football player. And I'm 5'7". I'm not going to be on the basketball team, but I could play the crap out of the drums, and that was awesome. And it was important. So, um, we did not have anything like Teach Rock. And if we had, I would have been so all over it. And I think when I think about the teachers I really remember, they're the ones who found ways to do creative things like that. And those are the classes I really remember. And the people I remember from my high school are the ones that I connected with because they found a way to get me emotionally involved in what they do.
I appreciate you saying that. And I think you and I probably had a lot of similarities growing up because I was a music guy and that's all I ever wanted to do. And I worked in the music business right out of college because I used to work for the Country Music Association that does like the CMA Awards and CMA Fest.
Yeah.
And I was like 30 before I figured out I wanted to be a history teacher and went back to do that. But music was what always got to me. And I like sports, but I was never a good athlete. So I can relate to that so much.
Mm.
You mentioned some teachers. Did you have a favorite teacher or a favorite mentor or anybody that stood out to you?
I really remember this guy, Mr. Heifetz, who was an English teacher, and he was complicated. He could be really harsh, but he also was really loving. And one of the, I think what makes me remember him most is that he he liked me and identified me as really capable and pushed me and also just let me have it a few times. I really remember this one time where I did like very half butt job on a paper and he gave me a D. And I can remember my mom saying, I can't believe Mr. Heifetz gave you a D. He likes you. I'm gonna call him. And I just remember saying, no, don't call him. I deserved it. Like in this moment, I just really remember that as like a kind of pivotal, like having to own my own crap moment. And he really sticks out. And then of course I remember my band director who he was almost like a second father. Also, in that uh, he was the middle school band director, and then the year I went to high school, he became the high school band director. So I had him 7 straight years. Um, and he also we just knew each other so well that I was like the punk drummer kid in the back causing problems, and he was able to give it to me, but also like I don't know. It was beyond just a student teacher relationship. It was 7 years, and it was music. So by my senior year, he had me like co-leading the jazz band and picking the charts. And like it was, that was pretty awesome.
Very cool. So you've got the year of high school students. What is one life lesson that you learned that you would pass on to high school students today?
I think um, you never know where something will lead, right? Like I wanted to be a professional drummer only. And some levels, I would say, okay, like I'm not a rock star. I don't make my whole living playing drums. So is that a fail? I don't know, because I still play a lot of music. I have a lot of fun doing it, and I still make money on it. But I allowed myself to kind of follow little divergent paths to things, some of which felt um, like I wasn't clear where they were going. But in the end, they amounted to me being really, really happy. I love what I do now. It takes, broadly speaking, my music interests and pulls them together. But it's also allowed me to be in a place where I got mentorship to be a leader, to learn how to like run an organization and understand how to do accounting and be financially responsible for the organization. And um, it's because I just stayed open to possibilities and I mean, there's a lot of serendipity in it, like just being in the right place in the right time, but uh, being willing to like really be in that place and to listen to somebody and to try something. And I think that applies also to like conversations with people. Um, I've pretty much most of the times when I've had an opportunity to like meet someone, I've just done it and tried to like, I guess that's networking, right? To have like a relationship with them, hear what they're interested in, and just see what connections there are. And the way that's been good for me over time is that those relationships keep evolving, right? So there's people that I met 5 or 6 years ago who were I just like, oh, that's an interesting person, but there's no like benefit to this relationship right now. A few years later, something happens and it's like the perfect time and I can really support them or they can really support me. And so I think like that's been an incredible way to sort of just continually evolve and level up a little bit as time goes on in life. And so treating people well, cultivating those relationships, offering help when you have something to offer, and then not being afraid to ask for it when you need it, has worked really well for me. And um, I certainly, I don't know, my son is a junior and we're like talking about college and everything, and it's hard to just like look at this big empty slate and be like, I want to do this. This is what's going to happen. Like you just don't know. Um, so I think that openness and flexibility is probably one of the best things that anyone could go out there with because you create the most possibilities.
Well, I love what you guys are doing with Teach Rock. It's a huge benefit to people like me who want to bring music into their classroom, and it just gives me so many creative ideas and so many resources, and it's a phenomenal job that you guys are doing. I know we had the pleasure a couple of years ago of being on Stevie's virtual tour,
Hmm.
and just the impact that that kind of thing has. I can't even put it into words. I remember after he talked to my students that day, and I think you were listening in and part of the conference call where we talked. And I remember it was like the end of the semester, kind of like it is now. And, everybody was just kind of wrapping up and everybody's kind of finished and stuff. And I got to offer that to, my students. And I had 40 or 50 kids packed into this room and, just kind of watching and getting to talk. And I remember after it was over, it obviously had an impact on me. And I was thinking, oh, I hope this impacted them, the way I wanted it to. And I remember we walked out of the classroom and I was walking down the hall and I was behind one of my students and they didn't know I was there. And they were talking to a student who came out of another classroom. And they were like, how's your day been? And they were like, oh, it's just kind of boring. We're finished with everything. We're just kind of, riding out our time and stuff. And the student I had, they said, well, for the last hour and a half, I've been talking to a member of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And they didn't know I was listening to them. And they were just talking about how much it impacted them and like the things they had learned from it. And I wanted all of you guys to know like what you're doing matters and what you're doing is like impacting kids all over the place. So please
That's
keep it
awesome.
up because it's great.
Yeah. Thanks. That's so good to hear. So it makes me so happy. And I'm gonna share it with Steven too, because he cares, you know.
And if I can ever do anything to help you guys, whether it's representing you somewhere, whether it's just talking about how great you are, please let me know. I'm happy to do it, and
Okay.
we'll do whatever I can to spread your all's word.
And next time we're in your neck of the woods, I'll make sure to reach out.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Most definitely. And I thank you so much for staying after school with Mr. Van Huss today. And I'm sure my students are going to love hearing what you had to say.
Thanks, Mr. Van Huss. It was very nice to see you. And hello to your students. Thanks for listening.
All right. Thank you very much, Bill. I'll talk to you soon.
Bye bye.
Bye.